Elizabeth, wedding photographer based in San Diego. Today's video, I'm going to be answering all of the questions that you guys asked me in my Q&A request slash book giveaway. If you haven't seen that, is up here. It's really just asking for questions for today's video. I'm going to break this video into two parts because there are so many questions. It is just going to be a very, very long video if I made it all in one. So this is part one. I'm also going to be announcing the giveaway winner at some point throughout this video, so you'll have to watch the whole thing to see if it is you. So the first question I'm going to ask is, do some wedding dress shapes and materials make it harder to photograph or make posing different? The answer to that is no, not really. However, if the bride wears a very tight dress that makes it hard for her to walk and move around, then we might not be able to do certain poses, or it might take us longer to take each photo because she is slower walking from point A to B. So it's really up to the bride on figuring out whether she wants to be extra mobile or doesn't mind being kind of more immobile throughout the wedding day. It just takes more time and you might not be able to do sitting down photos or stuff like that. The next couple of questions are related to choosing your photographer. The first one is, should I be concerned if a vendor slash photographer does not want to provide previous clients' opinions on their work? Yes, you should be concerned. Now, it's not fair for you to ask them to get email information or personal contact information of past clients, but they should have reviews on websites, they should have testimonials. If they have nothing like that, personally, I would not take that risk. If you want to take that risk, that's fine. Do whatever you want, but I wouldn't take that risk. I want to make sure that whoever I'm working with is established, has very happy past clients, and has reviews on the website or internally that they can share. The next question is, how much does a photographer or yourself charge for travel fees? Does it depend on location, or is there just one travel fee? Yes, it depends highly on location. Traveling to San Francisco is going to have way less travel costs from me than traveling to Paris for a wedding or Santorini for a wedding. I have to take into account how much my flight costs, how much a rental car or a train is going to cost, and how much it's going to cost me to stay in a hotel, and how many nights I have to be there. If it is East Coast or somewhere where the time zone is ahead of time, I usually have to end up arriving on a Thursday. I can't cut it that close by arriving on a Friday. If it is West Coast, I can probably arrive on a Friday because I can leave at like 10 in the morning, get there by noon or whatever. That's not super risky. If there's a delay, it's not going to be that far. But if it is East Coast, with the time zone and how far it takes me to get there, it has to be something where I'm arriving on a Thursday, so it's a little bit more expensive. I wish I could say there was some one set fee, but it's really depending on the location. Especially if it's a location closer to the airport, then it's a little bit cheaper than if I have to like drive an hour with a rental car 2 hours from the airport or whatever. So it really just depends. But for me personally, I always bake those costs into my clients' collection costs, so my clients only ever have to look at one number. They don't have to do math. I say your collection cost $8,000 for your wedding in Paris. That's all you have to spend unless you want to purchase more items. So I try to make it easy on my clients by just giving them one number to look at that includes all travel. That way they don't have to worry about anything extra. The next one is, how many hours should you book your photographer for, all day or 4 hours? The more hours you have, the more you get covered. A lot of photographers charge a minimum. My minimum is 7 hours. It's probably going to switch to 8 next year, but right now the shortest amount of time somebody can book me for on a Friday through Sunday is 7 hours. I will make exceptions if the client comes to me kind of last minute and I know I'm not going to be able to book a full day wedding. I'll say, yes, you can book me for 4 hours. That's fine. But in terms of how many you should do, that's really up to you. I recommend 8 or more because with 8, you're going to get a little bit of getting ready. You're going to get ceremony, first look, portraits, all that stuff, cocktail hour, and enough of reception to capture most of the day. If you have a lot of travel in different locations in your wedding, maybe 9 is better because travel time takes up time. Your photographer has to be there longer, or you have to cut from certain parts of the day. If you're on a tighter budget and your photographer doesn't have a minimum amount of hours, you just need to work out your timeline and see what you want covered. Understand that even if you don't want getting ready photos, some photographers do insist that they arrive before your ceremony starts so that they get some warm-up time with you, have time to photograph your details, and get everybody comfortable with them. So just listen to what they're recommending, but in the end, just know that if you only have 4 hours, you're not gonna get like a lot of stuff of your day photographed. You're gonna have to really condense things, and you're gonna skip out on probably all of your reception events and all of getting ready. So the next one is what to look for in a photographer to see if you're really getting your money's worth so the wedding pictures turn out the best possible way. If you love their work and you love their personality, that's all the value you need, honestly. I think look at what they're providing to you. For me, I charge a lot because not only do I provide beautiful photos, I also provide a lot of services for my clients. I do a lot of research for them for the engagement session. I work with their planner very closely on the timeline. I'm spending probably at this point in my life over 45 hours, maybe even 50 hours with each couple. So I'm giving them a lot of services, spending a lot of time with them that is valuable for my clients. So as long as what you are getting is worth it to you and you love the work, then I think that's all the value you need. Now they also asked, should I look for a photographer slash videographer, or would it work if it were two separate people? I recommend having a dedicated person for photo and a dedicated person for video, whether that's two separate companies or one company that offers both services. I personally would not hire somebody to do both photo and video in the same day, meaning that if I were shooting a wedding, I'm taking pictures, now I'm doing some video, now I'm taking pictures, because I would want that person to focus 100% on photos or 100% on video. I would never do both myself during the day, but I would be more than fine hiring somebody to do video and I'm doing photo. So I just think if you're having the same person, they can't focus 100% on either one. Some people might say that they can do that just fine. I would personally never do that. So I think two separate people, whether they're in the same company or separate companies, is better. Also, would it be worth it to hire somebody for a mini session for honeymoon photos without having to spend too much time with them during the honeymoon? You're probably going to have a hard time finding somebody to do just a mini session. You're probably going to have them do like a normal length photo session, which is probably an hour and a half. I think that's plenty of time for your honeymoon. It's not too much, it's not too little. So I think that's a great idea. Having your honeymoon photos captured is absolutely so much fun. Now the next one is, can you make a list of questions that one can ask when meeting a photographer? Like questions that one may skip or not think of that can help influence whether the photographer is right for oneself. And the first thing I want to say about this is skip those lengthy question recommendations from different blogs online. Typically, they are just throwing out the most bizarre, unnecessary questions. And I say this from somebody who did not ask their own photographer like any of those questions, really. Ask what's important to you. Is posing important to you? Is candid coverage important to you? Ask the photographer how they do those things. You don't need to ask them what file format do you deliver your photos in, and like what kind of specific lighting equipment do you use at the wedding day, unless that's something you know about and really care about. I think ask what's important to you, and if you're not sure what to ask your photographer, what should I ask you? They will tell you the answers to anything that you should know. And honestly, the best thing you can do is to just have a genuine conversation to see how well you connect and mesh with that photographer. One person did ask me, how can you see if you're a great fit? That's really it. The phone consultation, video call, in-person consultation, verbal communication is the best way. You are not going to figure out how well you mesh over email. Physically speak with them somehow and have conversations with them. Ask them about their business or their life. Have them ask you all about your wedding day and your hobbies and what you do. That is how you connect with people, and that is how you're going to be able to tell if they're going to be a great fit for you on the wedding day itself. The next few questions are all about dealing with inspiration lists, shot lists, all sorts of things. I have a whole video on shot list pros and cons up here if you want to know more. Long story short, I think that shot lists and long inspiration lists, and I'm not talking like 2 to 3 must-have photos. I'm talking like 8, 10 plus list of things the photographer has to like check off on the day of the wedding. I think that those do you a disservice as a client. If you hired them and love their work and trust that they can do a beautiful job because you've seen their full galleries and you thought, yes, this is great for me, there is no need for you to give them a list of things that they need to do. They know what they are doing. I would never go to my doctor and be like, here's a list of things for you to do during this appointment. I trust that they know what they're doing. They've done this before. I went to them because they had great reviews and I trusted them. So it's kind of the same thing with photographers. Unless you have a really, really new photographer who's never really done a wedding before, your professional photographer does not need a list in order to do a beautiful job. Again, it is due diligence for you to scope out their portfolio before hiring them, and if it looks great to you, trust that they can do their job without a shot list. Now again, if you've got a couple of must-have photos, that's usually fine. That's not the same thing as like having to work from this long list, but know that when you leave it up to them to create the work that you hired them for, that's how you're gonna get the best possible, most original, authentic photos. Now, the next one is, how long do you recommend for first look pictures on your wedding day? I actually have an entire video all about timelines and the amount of time I recommend for each part of the day up here. So I'm gonna send you over to that video because that's gonna be a really full, lengthy resource to answer that question. How did you get started as a photographer? That is something that was a really long time ago. I just started taking pictures for fun. And then when I got more serious about it, I actually began to read a lot of articles online, watch a lot of videos, take online workshops. I took an in-person workshop to really build basic skills. And then I was a second photographer for 17 weddings before I ever charged my own client to be a lead photographer. I wanted to be as prepared as possible, and I think that I was. The next question piggybacks off of that. What advice would you give of an aspiring photographer? Practice, practice, practice. Read and research online. Don't rely on asking other people questions like, what lenses do you use? Like, blah, blah, blah. Research for yourself, practice, learn what you need, learn what you like. Also, if you feel like your portfolio is really small, do not be tempted to steal someone's work. Chances are you will be caught and people will destroy you. I have seen it happen. Never use work that is not yours. If you have a small portfolio, what you need to do is you need to hire models or grab your friends, grab your family, have them model for you. That's how you build a portfolio. If you are stealing people's work, not only are you doing something illegal and very immoral and unethical, you are also doing your clients a disservice, because if they hired you seeing stolen people's work and then you deliver something that's totally different, they're gonna be so unhappy with you, and that's not gonna be good. So practice, 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 and build a portfolio the right way. Hire people or ask friends to model for you. That is the best way. The next one is, can you explain the process of getting digital copies of photos when you are shooting with film? Are there unique challenges that come with film photography? The challenge is it's expensive. It is very costly, and that's why I am not cheap for my clients. I charge what I need to charge to be able to afford to produce the work that I produce, and film is very expensive, but it's a cost that to me is worth it, and my clients come to me, they love my work, they respect the process of film. So that's its unique drawback. In terms of how to get a digital photo from a film photo, I basically send my photos off to my film lab, they develop and process the photos, and then they scan each film image into the computer, and thus it becomes a digital file. That is how that works, and then I edit those digital files. They don't take much editing because film is usually worked on really well at the lab, so it comes to me almost ready to go, and then I edit my digital images that I take throughout the day to match the film. That's how that works. Now this next one is, how do you go about setting up a styled shoot or editorial? Is it free? Is it a trade-off of services? Do you all get the photos? So I actually have an entire video on why vendors do editorials that I'll link to up here. It's something that for me is really, really fun. It makes me more creative. I get to really explore different styles, and I get to do things that I haven't gotten to try at a wedding. So it's just really fun, and it's just this beautiful creative process for me. Now in terms of, is it free? Yes and no. If you are working with people who aren't charging each other to do the shoot, meaning it's all collaborative, it's free in that sense, so you don't have to like pay to do it. Some people will charge, like if they're really established and you're a little bit newer, they might say, you know, if you spend $2,000 with me, I will plan and design the shoot for you. That's up to you if you want to take that on. I personally look for people who are at a similar level as me and we collaborate. But it is not inherently free. I have to spend a lot of money on film. I have to have gowns shipped to me, often from New York, unless I'm working with a local boutique. And I also have to pay for models. I usually work with professional models for editorials for many, many reasons. So a lot of times editorials can end up costing me $1,000 a piece. And thus it's important that the people I bring onto my team are at a similar level so that we are all producing work that is valuable, that those photos are something we can all use, because if I were to invest that much in a shoot and the flowers really sucked, I would never use the photos. So you kind of have to make sure that everybody's on the same level, you're all on board with that one concept, the mood board, everybody's doing it, you have a publication in mind, so it's all going to be worth it for your marketing and for your portfolio. Celia Cooney, you are the winner. So if you're watching this, please email info@cavanelizabeth.com with your full address. So each thing on a new line, your full name, first and and last name, your address, your city, comma, state, zip code. So if you send it to me in that format, I'll be so appreciative and I will get your book out to you probably within 2 weeks, so you will have it then. Congratulations, Celia. Again, you have probably 36 hours to email me and claim your prize. If not, I will have to choose somebody else. But anyways, congratulations. So this last question is, my future husband is South Italian and my mom is super light and blonde. How can I put them both in the same picture without it getting washed out or super dark? I love this question because it's one of those things that this only happens when the camera is on auto or if your iPhone is taking a picture, because that is the camera assuming for you. It's doing the decisions for you. It's guessing what your subject is. And when it sees really, really bright and really, really dark, it usually panics and it will take the bright stuff and it will make everything darker. So if you are taking a picture or if you're doing a video and the window is behind you, you'll notice oftentimes it's really dark because your camera doesn't know that you're the one to expose properly for. It sees all the light bright behind you and it freaks out. It says, let's make everything darker because that's so bright and blown out, we need to make it proper. When in reality, what you want is your face properly exposed, not the window to be darker. So that's what happens when you let the camera think for you. But if there's a professional photographer who is thinking for the camera, then that should not happen. If I am taking a photo, I'm making sure that all my people are exposed properly, whether some are really, really dark, some are really, really light, or there's a mix. And then if anybody is a little bit too bright, even if I've exposed properly, I will just bring my highlights down to make sure that they aren't washed out. That is the way to do it. Again, if you are doing the work for your camera, you can prevent those problems. If you're on an iPhone, one great trick is if you are getting ready to take your photo, it's too bright or too dark, tap and hold on your subject and you'll see a flashing yellow square, and then swipe up to make the photo brighter or swipe down to make the photo darker. Hardly anybody knows about that tool, but it is the best thing ever. So that will help you take much better photos if you're just taking them on your iPhone. I'm sorry, Android users, I only know the iPhone. I'm sure there's something similar, but that's pretty much it. So in next video, I'm going to be answering questions such as things related to makeup, how well it photographs, places for engagement pictures, how to get unique spots. I'm going to be answering all about how you can feel better in front of the camera, all about fake flowers and my opinions on them and how well or well not they photograph, how to deal with a difficult vendor or vendor's assistant, what I love to shoot, what colors I love to shoot, am I planning on having children, and other things about my life. So if you guys did enjoy this video, please be sure to catch the next video for part 2 of this Q&A. It will be coming out in just a few days. I will see you guys then. Bye!